Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's section, I'm going to show you how to make the sunflower. This sunflower using only the normal crochet stitches, and the special thing is that it doesn't require wire for the petals, but still it looks very natural and hold its shape very well. This flower is made in one piece from the flower center to the seeds, and then 2 layers of petals, and then the flower support. So about the yarn, I'm using Susan 4 cotton yarn 4 ply, crochet hook number 2.5. You will need a scissor. So the floral stem, you will need 2 or 3 floral stem because this flower is quite heavy, so we want 2 or 3 of them to make sure that it stands well. And then 2 floral wire for the leaves. Okay, so let's get started. We start with the green yarn for the center of the flower. So make a magic ring by making a loop with your end tail on the right and working tail on the left. Then insert your hook and bring the yarn through the loop, and then make 1 chain. Do not count this one as a stitch. Now in the ring we're going to make 6 single crochet. And pull this yarn tightly to close the loop, and then make a slip stitch into the first one. For row 2, we're going to increase 6 stitches, so make 1 chain and do not count this one as a stitch. And then we're going to do a single crochet increase in all the stitches. So insert your hook into first stitch, make 1 single crochet, and then make another single crochet into the same space. That is 1 increase. I'm going to do 6 increases. Then you will have 12 stitches in total for row 2. That 12 stitches. Now do a slip stitch into the first stitch to close the row. You can pull this slip stitch tightly. Row 3, again we're going to increase 6 more stitches. Make 1 chain and do not count this one as a stitch, and then make 1 single crochet into the first stitch, followed by a single crochet increase in the second one. Then the pattern will be 1 single crochet and then 1 single crochet increase, and repeat it for 6 times. At the end of this row you should have 18 stitches in total. So the last stitch is an increase. Then make a slip stitch to close the row and pull this one tight. Row 4, I'm going to increase another 6 stitches. So make 1 chain, do not count this one as a stitch, and make a single crochet into the first one, and do another single crochet, and then in the third stitch I'm going to do a single crochet increase. So the pattern is 2 single crochet and then 1 increase, and repeat it for 6 times. So at the end of this row you should have 24 stitches in total. The last stitch will be an increase, so you make 1 single crochet, and for the last single crochet do not pull the yarn. We're going to switch to the light brown color. This one is color 23. So we're gonna finish this last stitch with the brown yarn, and you can cut the green yarn. And then make a slip stitch into the first stitch and pull it tight. So for this row, we won't be working on the front loops only, and we're going to start making the melon seeds. So make one chain and pull this tie. Do not count this chain as a stitch. Now we're going to start with 3 chains. And then make a slip stitch into the front loop of the first stitch. So the one that you make the slip stitch to start the row. This is where you're gonna make a slip stitch, but insert it into the front loop only. Okay. You can put a marker onto the back loop of that first stitch. We make one seed. Now make a slip stitch into the next front loop, and then make 3 chains. Then slip stitch into that same front loop to finish one seed, and then repeat, slip into the next front loop, 3 chain, and slip into the same front loop. So you're going to make 5 seeds, and then we're going to skip one front loop. So that 5 seeds. Now instead of make a slip stitch into the next front loop, you're going to skip this one, skip the next front loop, and slip into the following one, and then repeat. We don't make the seed into every single front loop because it will end up being too dense. So repeat the pattern until the end of the row. So you finish this first row of the seed. Now just make a slip stitch to end the row. Now we're going to bring this yarn back to the back to start the next row. So insert your hook into the space just where you make the slip stitch, and then bring this yarn to the back. And then make a slip stitch into the marker, into the first back loop, in this row we're going to be working on the back loop and increase another 6 stitches. So make 1 chain and do not count this one as a stitch, and then make a single crochet. Mark the first one. The pattern for this row will be 3 single crochet and then 1 increase. Repeat it 6 times. At the end of this row you should have 30 stitches in total. So I got 3 single crochet. Now make an increase, 2 single crochet in one space, then repeat it until the end of the row, and the last stitch of the row should be an increase. So you have 30 stitches. Now make a slip stitch into the marker, and pull this one tight. This row we will work on the front loop to make the second row of the seat. So just use a marker and mark the back loop. To start, you're going to make one chain and tie it. And do not count this one as a stitch. So the seat for this row will be working on 4 chains. Then make a slip stitch into the first front loop. The pattern is the same as the first row. So you will make 5 seats and then skip one front loop and then make 5 seats. The only difference is the seat is it has 4 chains instead of 3. I have 5 seats. Now skip one front loop and make a slip stitch into the following one. And then repeat. At the end of this row, you should have one more front loop. So make a slip stitch into the first one. Now you can cut this light brown yarn, and we're going to change to the dark brown color. So insert the dark brown yarn to the first back loop where we have the marker. And then make a chain stitch, and do not count this one as a stitch. Make a single crochet into that first back loop. And you can bring these 2 end tail with you so you can hide it when you work. So the pattern in this row will be 4 single crochet and then 1 increase, but we're gonna split 2 single crochet at the beginning of the row. So make 2 single crochet and then 1 increase, and then after that you will do 4 single crochet and then 1 increase. We just want to stagger the increase a little bit so we will have a round floral center. That 1 increase. Now do 4 single crochet and followed by 1 increase. At the end of this row, you should have 36 stitches in total. So that 36 stitches for this row. Now make a slip stitch into the first stitch and pull the slip stitch, tie, and then make 1 chain and also pull it tight, and do not count those 2 stitch. Now mark the first back loop. In this row, we will be working on the front loop only, and we're going to make the 3rd melon seed row. So the pattern for the seed in this row will be 5 chains, and then we will skip 1 front loop for every 3 single seeds. So make 5 chains, do a slip stitch into the first front loop, then slip to the next front loop, repeat 5 chains, and then slip stitch into that second front loop, then slip into the next one, 5 chains, and slip stitch into that 3rd front loop. So you finished 3 seeds. Now we're going to skip 1 front loop and do a slip stitch into the following one, and then repeat. See you when you finish this row. At the end of the row, just do a slip stitch. Now bring this yarn to the back. We'll start row 11. Row 11, we will work on the back loops and increase 6 more stitches. So first make a slip stitch into the marker, the first back loop where we have the marker. And then make 1 chain. Do not count that chain stitch. And make a single crochet. The pattern for this row will be 5 single crochet and then 1 increase, and repeat it 6 times. And at the end of the row, you should have 42 stitches. So cut 3. So I got 5 single crochet. Now do 1 increase, make 2 single crochet into the same space, and then repeat it until the end of the row. So the last stitch should be an increase. I'll see you when you finish this row. Now make a slip stitch into the first stitch. And then chain 1 and pull it tight. Do not count this one as a stitch. And put the marker back into the first back loop. Now we will make the 4th row of the seat, and the pattern is exactly the same as the 3rd one. So you will make 5 chains and slip stitch into the first front loop. Then slip into the next front loop, make 5 chain, and slip into that second front loop, and move to the next stitch with a slip stitch, and then again 5 chains, and slip stitch into that 3rd front loop. And when you finish 3 seats, just skip 1 front loop, make a slip stitch into the following one, and then repeat the pattern until the end of the row. Just make a slip stitch into the first one to end the row. And then you can cut that brown yarn. So we finished the center of the flowers. Bring this brown yarn to the back. Okay. Now we're going to change to the main color of the petal. I'm using color number 9. In this row, you just crochet 42 single crochet along the back stitches. So at the end of the row, you should have 42 stitches. And then make a slip stitch into the first one to close the row. Just make a loop and tighten that slip knot. Okay, so now we're going to make a row of chain stitch into the space between that brown yarn and the green yarn. And we will make 40 chains. So this row you have 42 stitches, and now you're going to make only 40 chains. So you can skip one stitch evenly along the circle. Okay, so I'll show you how to make the row of the chain stitch. So you're gonna insert your hook from inside to the outside at that first stitch, and just bring this yarn to the back. So you pull this strand of yarn to have an amount that is enough for the 40 chain stitch. I think that should be enough. About 1 meter of yarn should be enough. Okay, now we're gonna determine which strand of yarn we're gonna use for the chain stitch. So the yarn that you have at the front here is the one that is the one from the ball. And the 2 strands of yarn at the back, so one of it can move, can pull. We will leave this one aside, and we will use the one that is fixed, that cannot be pulled. So we'll use this fixed strand of yarn to make the chain stitch, and we leave the one that can be pulled aside. Now insert your hook into the stitch next to where you have the yarn like go through, where you have this one. Insert your hook into the next stitch and then pull the yarn. Now you can make the slip stitch. So this chain of slip stitch will be the base for our petals. So the first layer of petal will be worked on the front loops, and the second layer of petal is worked on the back loops. So when you make this row of chain stitch, make sure that you loosen it a little bit, or you can use a bigger hook to make the chain stitch. And we have 42 stitches in the previous row, but here we only make 40 chain stitch. So you will need to skip 2 stitches and distribute it evenly in the row. So you can skip that 2 stitches anywhere. For example, here I will skip that loop, that space, and make a chain stitch into the next one. So in this way I have skipped 1 stitch. So you will make another 20 chain stitch, and somewhere here you're going to skip 1 more stitch. In that way you will have 40 chain stitch in total. So just make 1 slip stitch into each stitch here. Okay, so that is 20 stitches from where I skip 1. Now I can skip the second stitch. So skip this one and make a slip stitch into the following one. So now until the end of the row, if I make chain stitch into every single space, I will have 40 chain stitch in total. The last chain stitch should be in the space where you have the yarn pull out. The 40 chain stitch should be in this space. Now you can pull the yarn at the front. So when you pull the yarn at the front, you're gonna have the last stitch like this. So now just make a slip stitch into the first one. Insert your hook into both loops, into that V shape. and make a slip stitch. Okay, so now we can start our first layer. So the first and the second layer of petal is made in the same way. So each petal will occupy 4 stitches. So we will have 10 petals in total. So the first row, we will make 11 chains. And you can use a marker to mark this first chain stitch. This will help you to work the second row. Okay, so when you make the chain stitch here, make it really loose. Or you can again use a bigger hook if you find it difficult to have a loose chain stitch. And you need to make 11. Okay, so that 11 stitch. And then we're gonna work from the vertical bar at the back. You can see we will skip the first one and insert your hook into the second bar. And then we're gonna do slip stitch along all the bar and go back to the base. I'll make a slip stitch. Just do it really loose. And before you do the slip stitch, I show you a tip. So it'll be easier for you to work the second row. So on that last chain stitch, that 11 chain stitch, just put a marker on one of the loop, the front loop of that last chain stitch. So you have the marker on the first one and on the last one. Then do a slip stitch. So this marker will be the top of the petal. Then make 9 slip stitch in total and do it really loose. Because next row we will make the stitch on the slip stitch. To make 9 slip stitch. Okay, so you have 9 slip stitch. And then, okay, so go back to the chain stitch here. You're gonna do a slip stitch into the front loop, the first front loop. The first front loop here. Just do a slip stitch into that first front loop. Okay. Now do 4 more slip stitch into the front loops. And repeat 11 chain stitch. And again, you can mark that first stitch, that last stitch. And also mark that first chain stitch. You can do it for like 2 petals, and after that you will be very familiar with how we pick up the stitch, so you don't need the marker anymore. So make a slip stitch into a second vertical bar. Make sure that you skip the first one, insert your hook into the second vertical bar, and make a slip stitch, then all the way down, total of 9 slip stitch. Now do another slip stitch into the front loop of the same front loop where you start the chain stitch, and then make another 4 slip stitch to start the next petal, and then do the chain stitch. So as you can see, each petal will be worked on 4 stitches. So the first one is where you have the chain, then 1, 2, 3 slip stitch, that is 4. And then the 4th slip stitch is where you start the next petal. So in total, we will have 10 petals. And I'll see you when you finish this row. Now we finished the last petal center, and you make the slip stitch into the front loop of the chain stitch. So you can see that we have 3 more chains before the first petal. So we won't make only 2 slip stitch. So make 1, 2, and we will skip the 3rd chain stitch. Now for the second row, we will work the petal. So on each side of this center, it will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches. So the pattern will be from the marker, this marker here. You will make 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, and then 6 pattern of 2 double crochet cluster, and then 1 half double crochet, a single crochet, and then on the top here we will make 2 single crochet and the picot edge for the top of the flowers. And on the other side is the same pattern. So before we start the second row, we skip that last chain stitch, and then insert your hook into the loop where you have the marker, and we're going to start with 1 single crochet. And then 1 half double crochet. Then we're going to make 6 pattern of the double crochet cluster. So you will make 1 double crochet, unfinished double crochet, then make another unfinished double crochet into the same space. You have 3 loops on your hook. Now pull over that 3 loops. So that is 1 cluster. So we need to do 6. With this stitch, your sunflower petal will hold its shape very well, and you don't need to add wire to the petal. Okay, so let's see how many pattern we got. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cluster. So you can see we have 2 stitches left. So we make 1 half double crochet, the next stitch, and then in the last stitch before the marker, make 1 single crochet. Now on the very top here where you have the marker, we will make a single crochet. Here you can pick up just 1 strand of yarn, 1 loop, make 1 single crochet, then make 2 chains and slip stitch into the second vertical bar. That's the tip of the petal. Now make another single crochet into the same space. Okay, so for the top of the petal you will have 2 single crochet. Now on this side of the petal we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 stitches in total. So the pattern is the same. We start with a single crochet, then a half double crochet, then 6 cluster of double crochet, okay, so that's 6 cluster of the double crochet. Now do a half double crochet, and then a single crochet into this one. So you finish 1 petal. So we will do a slip stitch into the base. So skip 1 stitch and do a slip stitch into the next one. Then do another slip stitch. And then we will repeat for the second layer, for the second petal. So as you remember, when we start the first petal, we skip 1 chain stitch at the base. So similar here, we're going to skip this one and work the single crochet into the marker. We'll finish the last petal of the first layer. This is the last single crochet of the petal. Then you will do a slip stitch, skip 1 and do a slip stitch as normal. But here we're going to do just 1 slip stitch. Okay, so now we're going to work on the back loop of the chain stitch for the second layer. So you're going to do a slip stitch straight to the back loop. You can see the row of back loop here. Let's just make a slip stitch directly into the back loop. And we will start from here. So we'll start from the back loop that is between the 2 petals. This is to make sure that the second layer of petal won't be starker and sit between the first layer. So this second layer, the method of crochet is exactly the same, except that we add 1 more chain stitch. So you will have 12 chain stitch. And make it really loose. Again, if you're familiar with where to pick up the chain stitch for the petal, you can skip the marker. Otherwise, you can just put the marker on the first chain stitch. This will be where you start with the single crochet. And we'll make 12 chains. You can also mark the last one And then from the second vertical bar, do 10 slip stitch. That is 10 slip stitch. Now skip into the same loop where you start, and then make 4 slip stitch into the folding back loop. You can see the back loop here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so where you start the second column of chain stitch should be right in the middle of the 2 petals of the first layer. And again, make 12 chains. And repeat the process until the end of the row. This is the last center of the second layer. And I did a slip stitch back to the same loop where you start the chain stitch. Now, you can see here we got 3 back loop until the first chain stitch. So you're going to do 2 slip stitch. And then leave 1 loop and work. And now we're going to start the petal and start from the marker with the single crochet. Okay, so the pattern is the same with the first layer, except that you will add 1 more double crochet cluster. So you will have 7 double crochet cluster. At first, start with the single crochet. And then a half double crochet. Then 7 cluster of the double crochet. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you should have 2 more stitches before the marker. That's where you're going to make 1 half double crochet and then 1 single crochet. And then in the marker again, we're going to make a single crochet. And here you can do 3 chains instead of 2. Make 3 chain and make a slip stitch. Then another single crochet into the same space to make the tip of the flower. Then on the other side, you do the same. So 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, and then 7 cluster. Then 1 half double crochet, and then the last single crochet is here. Okay, so we start with a single crochet, and then a half double crochet, and 7 cluster. The 7 cluster double crochet. Now you should have 2 more stitch. So make a half double crochet, and then a single crochet. Okay, so between this last single crochet and the marker, you should have 1, 2, 3, and 4 stitches. So like the previous row, like in the previous layer, skip 1 stitch and make a slip stitch into the following one. Then make another slip stitch, and then skip one, and start the next petal from the marker with a single crochet, and then you can repeat the pattern. And you can see that this second layer sit like exactly in between the two petals of the first layer. Okay, I'll see you when you finish all the 10 petals of the second layer. Now use the green yarn to start making the calyx. So in the next row, we're going to be working with the green yarn. We will make a row of single crochet and decreasing at the same time. So insert your yarn like this and make a chain stitch, and do not count this one as a stitch. So in this row, we want to decrease 6 stitches. So the pattern will be decrease 1 stitch in every single 5 stitch. So you will make 5 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochet, and then make a decrease. So insert your hook into the front loop of the next stitch, and then insert it into the next front loop, and then pull the yarn through. That's how you make a decrease. Now repeat the pattern until the end of the row, and you should have 36 stitches in total. So the last 2 stitches are going to be a decrease. Then make a slip stitch into the first stitch to finish. So now we will make the petal of the calyx. So you will start with 6 chain, and then flip your work like this. So you won't be working from the back to the front, because the petal of the calyx will be in the opposite side than the flower petal. And then from that 6 chain stitches, we're going to work from the vertical bar of the chain stitch. You got 6 stitches. So insert your hook into the first vertical bar, and then you're going to make 5 unfinished single crochet. And make another unfinished single crochet into the next back loop. So that'll be the loop that is further away from us. So you have 7 strands of yarn on your hook. Now pull the yarn through 2 loops at a time. Okay, so you can see that the right side of this petal is opposite to the flower petal. Now make 2 chains, and then from the second vertical bar, so skip the first one, insert your hook into the second one. You're going to make 6 unfinished single crochet. Then another unfinished single crochet into the next loop, back loop only. Now make 4 chains, and then from the second vertical bar, make a slip stitch, Then make 2 more slip stitch. You have 3 slip stitch in total. Then make 6 unfinished single crochet. Then 1 more unfinished single crochet into the next back loop, and then pull the yarn through. Next row, make 1 chain, and from the second vertical bar, you make 1 slip stitch. Then make 5 unfinished single crochet. And 1 more unfinished single crochet into the next back loop. The last row, make 1 chain, and from the second vertical bar, make 5 slip stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then make another slip stitch into the next back loop. So you finished 1 petal. You can see that each petal is worked on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops. So when you finish, you should have 6 petals in total. So to start the next petal, just do a slip stitch into the next back loop, and then repeat the pattern of 6 chains. And I'll see you when you finish this row. Okay, so if we finish all the 6 petals, now make a slip stitch to end the row. And then we're gonna flip the work, and we're gonna continue working on the, now it should be the back loops, but when we're making the petal, it's the front loops. And make a slip stitch into the first loop, and make 1 chain, and then a single crochet into that same loop. Now in this row, we will decrease again. So the pattern will be 2 single crochet, and then 1 decrease, and repeat it for 9 times. And at the end of the row, you should have 27 stitches only. So I make 2 single crochet, now do a decrease, and then repeat, and make a slip stitch to the first one to end the row. Now next row, we will crochet 27 stitches. So make a single crochet in every single stitch without decreasing. Then make a slip stitch to end the row. Next row, we will decrease 9 stitches. So the pattern will be 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. So that's 1 pattern. And repeat 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. So at the end of this row, you have only 18 stitches left. The last 2 stitches should be a decrease. And make a slip stitch to end the row. So next row, we will decrease. Next row, the pattern will be 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. Make a slip stitch to end the row. Now use the fiber you will need a floral stem. This flower is quite heavy, so we need to use 2 floral stem. We need to bend the top of it a little bit. And then make like bend it like a 90 degree. Like this. And insert it into the flowers. And then you can put more fiber. Okay, so now you can continue working the decreases. So from last row we have 12 stitches left, and for this row you're going to make 6 decreases. And make a slip stitch. And you can cut the yarn and leaving the tail. We're going to use a needle to seal the end. So insert your needle into the front loop, from the front to the back. Of all the 6 stitches. And then pull it tightly. And then secure it a couple times. So now we will make the leaf, and you will need to make 2 leaves. And start with the green yarn. And we'll start with a slip knot. And do not count this one as a stitch. Now you're going to make 21 chains and make it a little bit loose. At 21 chains, use a floral wire of about 25 or 30 centimeter, and you put on top of the working yarn. And then make 3 more chains. Okay, so if you look at the back of the chain stitch, you will see that we have the little back palm at the back, and we will work on those vertical bar at the back. So from the second vertical bar, you're gonna make a slip stitch. So skip the first one and insert your hook into the second vertical bar. And then make a slip stitch. And then in the next vertical bar, where you have the Y go through, you're gonna make a single crochet. You need to make 3 single crochet, so find the next vertical bar. And make another single crochet. And then you can wrap your yarn through the wire as well. Put that the second single crochet. Now do another single crochet. With that 3 single crochet. Now we're going to do 9 half double crochet into the vertical bar. Like that 1, 2. So that's 9 half double crochet, and we do 4 more single crochet into the vertical bar. So we finished row 2. Now turn your work, and you're gonna skip the first stitch. So skip the first one and insert your hook into the second stitch. You're gonna do 9 single crochet, then do 3 slip stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then do 1 chain. Now turn your work, and we're gonna skip the first stitch, so do not count this chain stitch. We're gonna skip the first that slip stitch. That'll be the last slip stitch of the previous row, so we're gonna skip that last slip stitch and then insert your hook into the second stitch, and you're gonna do 2 slip stitch. Then do 1 single crochet and then 2 half double crochet. Then a half double crochet increase, so make 2 half double crochet into the same space. Now we're going to do 5 half double crochet until the end of the row. Okay. So you see that there's no more space at the end of the row. So now we need to connect back to the base to the chain stitch. So you're going to make 2 half double crochet on the side. So the first half double crochet, pick up the 2 strands of yarn at the side here, and then pull the yarn and then yarn over, and then make another half double crochet into the corner. So this will be the last single crochet that you have in row 2. So make a half double crochet into that same space. Okay, so now we can continue working on the chain stitch. We need to make 3 single crochet. And then turn your work. At the end of this row, you should have 3 vertical bar left on the chain stitch. For row 5, again, we're going to skip the first stitch and start from the second stitch, and we're going to do 10 single crochet. And then 2 slip stitch and chain 1, and then turn your work and skip the first stitch and do a slip stitch into the second one. Then make 1 single crochet and 2 half double crochet. and then a half double crochet increase. And then you should have 6 more stitches until the end of the row, and you're going to make 6 half double crochets. Okay, so now make 1 half double crochet into the side. So pick up the 2 strands of yarn at the side of the row, and then make a half double crochet, and then make another half double crochet into the corner, into that last stitch here. So you see that you have 3 vertical bar left on the chain stitch. You're going to make 3 single crochet into those vertical bar. Now turn your work. Row 7, gonna skip 1, skip the first stitch, and insert your hook into the second stitch, and you're gonna make 11 single crochet. And then 2 slip stitch, then chain 1 and turn your work. Skip the first slip stitch and do a slip stitch into the second one, then make a single crochet, then 2 half double crochet, then a half double crochet increase, and make 2 half double crochet, then 3 single crochet, okay, so you see we have 2 more stitches until the end of the row. We will leave those 2. Now turn your work. For row 9, skip 1 and make 5 single crochet, then 2 slip stitch, and chain 1 and turn your work. Skip 1 and make a slip stitch into the second stitch, then make a single crochet, then 2 half double crochet, then a half double crochet increase, you see that you have 1 more stitch, and you're going to make a half double crochet into that last stitch. Okay, so now we're going to make 2 half double crochets to connect it back to the previous row. So 1 half double crochet into the side, then another half double crochet into the corner, into this corner. So you see that we have 2 more stitches on the previous row. So you're going to make a single crochet and then make a slip stitch into that last stitch, then make a slip stitch to the last vertical bar where we already have a single crochet here. Okay, so you finished one side of the leaf. So for the other side of the leaf, you're going to start by making 1 chain, and we're going to pick up and make single crochet along the, you can see the V shape of the chain stitch. So make a single crochet into the very first space here. You can mark the first one. So you need to make 17 single crochet on this side. And when making the single crochet, you can bring this end tail to hide it. So that's 17 single crochet. Now you're going to make 3 slip stitch. And then make 1 chain. Now turn your work and skip 1 and then make 2 slip stitch into the next stitch. And then make a single crochet, then 2 half double crochet, and then a half double crochet increase. And you're going to make 6 half double crochet, and then 4 single crochet. Okay, so when you finish 4 single crochet, you see that you will have 3 more stitches until the marker. Now turn your work, and from here you just repeat row 5 to row 10 as for the other side of the leaf. And then you're going to make another slip stitch back to the center. And then wrap the yarn. Now cut this strand of yarn. And so you can cut the yarn leaving a tail. Just adjust your leaf a little bit. You can wrap the yarn. Okay, so now we're going to assemble the flowers. So use the green yarn and then wrap tightly. And you can attach the leaves. And continue wrapping until the end of the stem. And you can apply some glue at the end to secure the yarn. Okay, so we finished the sunflowers. So you can bend the flower a little bit so it's facing forward. And then you can style fix these petals so it look more natural. So I hope you enjoy the tutorial, and please like and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos. Thank you.